David Hankins.
And I'm Paul Hankins.
And welcome to another edition of On the Air with Power Squared, a weekly behind-the-scenes look at what we hope will be everyone's favorite comic book, Power Squared.
That's right.
And this is sort of a celebration for us. We've been doing this weekly, except for a couple of weeks, since August 30th of last year.
Yes.
So this is our 1-year anniversary. Look at this, live candles.
Yes.
Anyway, we just wanted to have a little celebration. Consistency, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If not quality, quantity. So anyway, happy anniversary.
Yes.
All right. So blow that out, and we'll cut that in a sec. One thing that we've been talking about, mostly to ourselves, is the idea of possibly doing, Power Squared as a animated series.
Yeah, as we think the concept would work well in animation.
Right. And we've been working on, off and on a pitch packet and some scripts to show what it would be like.
Yeah.
And we even took a class, you and I did, at UCLA.
Yes.
In how to pitch, and it ended the weekend before the shutdown.
Yeah, so that was very incredible timing right there.
Yeah, we kind of squeezed it in. It was, it was beginning to happen around the world, but not enough that we had to worry about it.
Yeah.
Or not yet, and then the next week it was over. So anyway, and one of the things I'm terrible with names. I forgot the teacher's name. If you remember his name,
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, like father, like son. One of the things that he recommended for us was Castlevania.
Yes. The Netflix series.
Right, because it is sophisticated.
Yeah.
Which means aimed at older than children.
Yeah.
Which is what ours would be.
Well, there's I guess what he was getting at more was a lot of adult animation is still humor based, and so Castlevania, which we actually watched 2 seasons of,
right,
was more, I guess, took itself more seriously.
Right.
So there is humor in there, of course, but it's not the main focus.
Right.
It actually tells a story. In this case, adapting Castlevania 3.
And it's interesting.
Yeah.
We've liked it so far. I guess we're waiting for season 3 to come out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Before we say, why don't you just get Netflix? Anyway, so we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And and so it's been good to see. It's not aimed at kids, and it's not anime, and it's right.
Yeah, it's anime influenced,
right,
of course, in its art direction, but
it's not an anime series.
Yeah.
So that's been good, and I think it does show that there's a market for
adult animation.
Right. Or adult, not adult.
Like sophisticated adult animation.
There you go. And which, of course.
Yes, I want to talk about this very briefly.
Sure.
Trevor Belmont is the best character.
Yes, he is.
He's the main reason we watched it, or kept watching it. Like, he kept our interest. The characters in general are very interesting. Especially, also how they, Trevor, Alucard, and Sypha develop a relationship with each other. And it actually goes into how Alucard is half human, half vampire, and so how he kind of fits in with that part of his identity.
Right. Yeah, it sort of I feel like it's a giant cliffhanger for us. It was sort of setting up for something. Because they defeated Dracula at the end of it, the second season.
Yeah. I feel like the arc that it did have, the main arc that it did have, ended conclusively, but it still left itself open for, obviously, more.
Obviously, there's been a 3rd season.
I want to say, like I said a minute ago, the first 2 seasons adapt Castlevania 3, and it's set leading up to adapting a video game that's a sequel to that.
Okay.
I forget the name of that off the top of my head. Anyway, was there anything else you wanted to say about it?
No, it's kind of. I'm surprised at how involving it is in a way.
Yeah.
Because I tend not to. I sort of don't really like, lots of blood, per se.
Right.
But it's very good. I liked it very much.
Yeah.
Now, as good as that is, that's not really the tone that we're looking for.
Right.
For Power Squared. If you've read the comic book, it's not that kind of story.
And you have read the comic.
Or you wouldn't be watching this now. Something else that we've been watching, which you can talk more about, is
Phineas and Ferb.
Right.
We actually got all of the DVDs.
Yes.
But I just grabbed this first one. So, Phineas and Ferb is a cartoon that I wished I had seen when it first came out.
I remember the big hoopla around it at Comic-Con.
Yeah. Sorry. It has a more comedic tone. Oh, God. Why am I stalling? Really good comedy. The storylines don't necessarily have like super high stakes.
Right. Excuse me. Very dry. Go ahead.
The stakes aren't super high because
Sounds like your Godfather. Go ahead. Stakes aren't super high.
The stakes aren't super high because Phineas and Ferb never really get in trouble for what they do.
No, it's always miraculously gone.
Yeah. You do kind of know what to expect from each episode. There is a formula to it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it actually also plays around with that formula in really creative ways. Mm-hmm. For example, there's this episode called Tri-Stone Area, where it takes the formula but puts it into like the Stone Age. And so what's funny is that even though there's almost no comprehensible line of dialogue, you still know exactly what's going on.
Right. And it's a very well done show.
Yes.
They managed to get a song hit or miss in there every episode pretty much. And the characters have, I also like the fact that the dynamic of the characters doesn't really like change for the situation. Like on sitcoms. Suddenly Joey's really smart and then Joey's really dumb. Yeah. That never really seems to happen. So they're very consistent with the characters and the stories.
Yeah.
Very, a lot of fantasy obviously in there.
Yeah. A lot of smart humor too.
Right. So we would be somewhere between the two. Yeah. No songs, but no blood.
Right.
We think of it as a sort of a 2D animation.
Yeah.
Which is like more of this.
Yeah.
So.
Those Power Squared as a superhero series or however you would define that.
Right.
Does work well with animation and what we've been trying to come up with for like scripts for that, or at least a pilot.
Right.
We tried to take advantage of the animation medium. We don't want it to be something that could like very easily get tweaked just a little bit here and there, and it could be live action.
Right. No, yeah. We don't see it as a live action, really.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to throw money at us to make it, okay.
Of course.
Money talks.
But at least right now we imagine it being animated.
Right. So...
I guess related to Phineas and Ferb, we actually just saw Candace Against the Universe.
Right. We actually signed up for Disney Plus so we could watch that.
Yes.
It's been part of a longer Phineas and Ferb week.
Yeah.
On Trophy Unlocked, which is the blog that you started almost 10 years ago.
Yes.
That all of us, you and me and Trevor, write for. But this past week, leading up to Candace versus the Universe, was Phineas and Ferb week.
Yeah. We reviewed the DS games, Phineas and Ferb and Phineas and Ferb Ride Again. Then the first TV movie Across the Second Dimension, and then the video game based on Across the Second Dimension. And then the last one we put up was Quest for Cool Stuff, specifically the Xbox 360 version.
So that means tomorrow,
Cards Against the Universe
will be up on Trophy Unlocked.
Yes.
And how can people get the Trophy Unlocked?
The website, trophyunlocked.blogspot.com. I have not changed that URL.
That's good. At least it's consistent. Yeah, I've also thought that Power Squared could be a video game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I have big plans. I need people to read it. Yeah. More importantly. All right. So, anything else you want to talk about as far as animation or anything?
Yeah, I guess if we want to talk a little bit more about the two shows.
Sure.
So Castlevania, I'm kind of aware of what happened with Warren Ellis recently, but I don't really want to get into that. But despite that, he is a good writer. However, I do have to acknowledge that especially the first season was a little slow at the beginning. It was only 4 episodes, but a lot of it was setting it up.
Right.
And however, there was some action at the end that kind of made the wait worth it.
Right.
And then with season 2, there was also set up, especially with Hector and Isaac.
Right.
They're going to be relevant later, I think. But anyway, Hector and Isaac are actually interesting characters because of their they are humans, and yet they're intensely loyal to Dracula.
Right.
At first.
Yes, at first.
Anyway, they're intensely loyal to Dracula, and they still want to see the human race exterminated because of their own past experiences with humanity.
You know, and we're not here to talk about Overlord, which is another series we're watching.
Right.
But it always seems like humans are the least powerful, least desirable creatures in all these worlds.
Yeah.
So they're always the most, kill them, it's okay, or whatever. I think that's kind of an interesting little thing about you're kind of almost rooting against your own kind.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of an odd thing to put yourself in.
But anyway, with season 2, there was also more action, and the climax had like really good
Yes.
choreography and animation, and basically the final fight against Dracula was worth it, I thought.
Right.
But then what's also interesting was seeing Dracula's kind of humanity, in a sense. Like, he's not human, but he did actually care about his wife.
Right, who was human.
Yes. And so his entire crusade against humanity was motivated by his wife being unjustly murdered.
Religious zealots.
Yeah.
Yes. Killing her because of science was considered magic.
Yeah.
Right.
I also liked how everything was kind of consistent with this medieval style setting.
Right. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't happen, but it's very well done. It does seem like, of the time. Like we would know, but it does seem like very much of the time.
Yeah, both in the designs of the, I guess, people and the design of the world itself.
Right. It does seem, again, a little bit like Overlord. Is magic is a real thing in society, and there's different levels of it and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting.
And Sifa is a magic caster.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of why it all kind of comes. But I mean, there's a certain. You get the idea that magic, but she's also into knowledge.
Yeah.
And books and things like that, which their average citizen at that time is portrayed as not caring about.
Yeah.
And so the fact that she's also magic is sort of interesting. Kind of
Yeah.
I don't want to get into politics, but the idea that magic also goes with knowledge is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I also kind of like with the fight against Dracula, it's not necessary. Even though Trevor Belmont is the main character, they actually acknowledge that Alucard is a better match against his own father.
Right. Yes, because he's
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's got to be a tough thing to kill your dad.
Yeah.
So let's not get into that.
Anyway, Phineas and Ferb, it's a lot more lighthearted, but as we were talking about, the characterization is very consistent. The animation is really good and distinct.
Right.
One thing we actually... there's a small detail of Phineas and Ferb that we noticed, and Trevor pointed out in his review of Quest for Cool Stuff. If you notice, the backgrounds have a lot of triangles in them.
Okay.
It's just part of the design.
Well, that seems to be consistent with, since one of the main characters has a triangle for a head.
Yeah. Do we want to talk any about Candace Against the Universe?
If you want to. We did watch it this afternoon.
Yes.
On Disney Plus.
And we're going to watch it again
after
we're done recording this.
Because it was just that good.
Yeah. I actually did like it.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I don't want to get really into spoilers, but the tone of the movie was appropriate for what they were going for.
It was, it's sort of like an extended episode. With, a little more to it. But, it was basically true to the story. It didn't add characters you'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
As main characters.
I would argue that the plot doesn't feel like they took like a 11-minute or 22-minute thing and stretch it out to like 80 minutes, and there's actually enough plot to justify it being feature length.
Right. I'm not trying to insinuate that it's
right.
but it's the same tone basically of the series.
Yeah, but it's also more serious, at least by comparison.
Right.
It doesn't suddenly take itself super seriously, but there are actual stakes. Candace is in actual danger.
Right.
And Candace actually has the spotlight. So it was interesting to see a story mostly from her perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting that they would choose to kind of bring it back after, 5 years and have it be more focused on Candace.
I guess because of all the characters, she never really had a kind of day in the limelight like that. She's had episodes about her, but not like this.
Right.
That also delved into, like, how she feels when everything kind of never goes her way.
Always disappears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She never gets to show her mom anything.
Right.
And the animation was theatrical quality.
Yeah, it's a little up from the series.
I could honestly easily see that being released theatrically if it weren't for this.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is one of those where they decided to put it on Disney Plus, or I have a feeling it was made for Disney Plus.
I think it was. This one was made for Disney Plus. I remember reading there was a attempt at a theatrical movie that didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, we were kind of talking about with the animation quality, you can actually see Candace's exhaustion more.
Right.
Like her physical and emotional exhaustion come through a lot clearer.
Yes.
It's also helped by, of course, Ashley Tisdale's voice acting. She sounded exactly
right. Yeah,
like she did in the show.
They all kind of sound like they did in the show. There wasn't like wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ferb's,
even Perry.
Yeah. Ferb's voice actor is actually different. I looked that up.
Oh.
But he still sounded like Thomas Sangster.
Yeah. Huh. Why wasn't him back?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Just either some scheduling thing or maybe just.
But they did a good job of matching that.
Yeah.
And the other beauty is Ferb doesn't really talk that much normally anyway. So it's sort of,
Yeah. So you just need someone that sounds like him.
Right. And then that sounds like him from the show. I mean, you could also get away, and the guy that does Perry does a good job of saying it, but you could get away with somebody else doing that.
Yeah.
If it's good. It's nice when they bring back everybody they can.
Yeah.
It's nice when they can bring back the entire cast. And I like the fact, again, that they didn't sort of squeeze in somebody that like add somebody into the plot that's suddenly, I've been part of the group the whole time. You just never saw them, or that kind of stuff.
Remember me?
They did sort of shoehorn in a few characters. That was a little...
It honestly could have been pretty much exactly the same without a couple characters.
Right, but then you kind of went, well, where's someone?
Yeah.
Where's Perry?
I guess I'd rather ask where those characters were than be disappointed at how they were used.
Yeah, they weren't really. We won't get into who those are here, but they were. Yeah, they just sort of had some cameos, is what they would say.
Yeah,
and it's sort of like, well, they were in the show, so they got to be in the movie.
Yeah,
when they didn't really have any purpose to be in the movie, or the movie could have functioned without them.
Yeah, and of course the humor is very much in line with the show.
Right. Again, it felt the tone seemed very much like the episodes were.
Yeah.
As far as it was funny, it was sophisticated humor. They kind of even acknowledge they're, in a show. Which they do in the series. And it does deal with a little higher stakes. Yeah. Which makes it why it would be a movie as opposed to an 11-minute episode. Yeah. And it's the same kind of and it had more songs. Yeah. And I don't know if that's a Disney has to have songs if it's a movie.
Well, even Across the Second Dimension was a musical.
Right. But there were a lot of songs in this. Some of them were really good. Yeah. And
some were okay.
Yeah. That's a hit.
They're not all winners. No. Even in the show, they're not all winners.
No, some of them were like, we were watching that compilation show. Yeah.
Kleptastic Countdown.
Yeah, and that some of the songs are they're really pretty good. Yeah, but overall, the show is a hit and miss with the songs.
One thing I will say is Trevor and I have also watched Milo Murphy's Law, which was also made by Dan and Swampy and takes place immediately after the ending of Phineas and Ferb, and of course, Weird Al is the main character. Some of the designs in Candace Against the Universe felt like Milo Murphy's Law designs. Milo Murphy's Law follows similar design philosophies to Phineas and Ferb, but you can tell there's a difference in their approach. So with this movie, there were some designs, including the aliens, that felt more like they belonged in Milo Murphy's Law. In that sense, it kind of doesn't help that Milo Murphy's Law also had a storyline involving aliens on another planet.
Lazy writing, or just I already thought of a concept, I'll think of it again, or...
Phineas and Ferb, it still felt like Phineas and Ferb. Right. Just design-wise, some of the aliens felt like Milo Murphy's Law designs.
Is it possible because the people that were working on this movie are also probably working on... Yeah. And so they just these are working here. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's kind of the evolution of...
I didn't say it was a bad thing necessarily, just... Right. Just an observation I was able to make.
I could not have made that observation because I've never seen...
So overall, I would recommend Candace Against the Universe.
Yes, I would too.
So I guess the main takeaway is we want to be less bloody than Castlevania, right? But a little more serious than Phineas and Ferb.
Right. No songs.
Yeah. So kind of mash them together.
So we'll see how that works.
Just in the middle there.
Right. All right.
So I think that covers it.
All right. Well, so 1 year down. Yes. And hopefully more to come.
Yes. Hope you'll stick with us for another year.
Right. So until next week, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.